Hi, this is Ali from Quality Spectrum, and today I'm going to talk about the topic of what to automate. Now, usually, managers who are working with automation teams have this problem in deciding what should be automate, and the usual answer that we go with is what's easily automatable from the UI is usually the first choice. So for instance, tests with easier controls on the UI are selected for this purpose, and that's kind of, for the most part, what comes to mind. But today in this video, I'm going to talk about a question which I think is even more fundamental and has to be asked even before we decide on what tests we want to automate. So before we ask what to automate, the question is what we should test. And from that list, then we'll decide what to automate. Now, when we ask the question about which test we are automating, the assumption there is that what to test has been answered and we have an adequate answer for that. What I've seen is usually teams don't have a solid test plan that they're working off in order to be sure that these are the tests that we should select from for automation. And if you don't have that right, then obviously you're not going to get a good set of tests which you can script for automation. So now let's talk about how to decide what we should test. We all know that everything cannot be tested, and that's kind of the testing problem. We need to identify what areas of the application are more important, and we should test those rather than trying to test everything. So when I'd say important, now important can mean a lot of different things to different people. So let's classify what important is. And for the sake of this video, let's take an example application, and I'll talk about Skype here. Most of us are familiar with it as to what would classify as important for Skype. So the first item on that list would be the most common features used by our customers. So in case of Skype, I'd imagine that would be chat, one-to-one, and one-to-one call. So Skype call and Skype chat would be the most common feature probably used by customers of Skype. But the problem here is that it's best not to go with your gut feeling because it could be wrong. The best way to go around it is to use analytics instead. So for instance, for mobile applications, you would know what platform your customers are mostly using, which version of Android or iOS, phone version, model, so on and so forth. Similarly, for other applications, for web applications, which browsers, and then that's just an example. So you need to identify what components of your application are being used the most. So if you have analytics built in there, it's very easy to get that answer. If you don't have those analytics in place, then you can always ask your customers directly and try to identify that way as to what features are mostly used by them and what features are important to them. The second item would be the features mostly reported bugs against by our customers. This might be overlap with the previous point, but might not always be the case. For instance, with our example, let's say the group chat has a bug there. It might not be the most widely used feature, but it certainly is a feature which would generate enough tickets from our customer support where identifying that a lot of our customers are having issues with this. So anything which is annoying our customers should be classified under important. We do have tests usually around such areas, for instance, areas which have bugs, which have been reported and have been fixed. We do regression around them, but we should also add more tests around that general module or component to make sure that we are regressing enough around those areas. Sometimes there is just a specific feature which is having problems, and sometimes there is something more than just one specific item or one specific feature which has issues with it could be a more general problem in that general component, which is why more regression should be done around the whole module. So the third point would be the competitive advantage. Now, by that I mean what sets our product apart from our competition. Generally, each product should be sold with some distinct features. Unless you're different from others, there's no point of being uh, one of many. So what sets our product apart from our competition? Usually, the engineering team might not have a very good idea. They should, in my opinion. Product management should be well aware of it, and in that case, if even they are not, then marketing would be the best place to start with. They would know exactly where they see our product lying in the market spectrum, what features do we heavily market, thinking that this is our competitive advantage, what our customers see that differentiates us from our competition. So all of this would be your competitive advantage, and tests around those features or those areas are very important, because if you lose that, then you are again just another product like all the ones that are out there. So you need to protect your competitive advantage. So and the last point would be any basic features of the application. So for instance, in our case, we'd say the selection of different mic options from within Skype for audio calls would be an important feature. So even if it did not come up, in any of the above list, we should have tests around them. So in summary, to recap, you'd want to have tests around whatever is important to our customers. That means what features are used mostly by our customers, what areas they find bugs against, and we get issues from the field, and what is our competitive advantage, the reason why we feel customers choose our product over competitors, and lastly, any basic features that we feel are important, which might not have been covered in the above three, but we should have tests around them. So generally you would have tests for every feature you roll out, but it's about how much do we need to test, because again, we cannot test everything. So we need to focus our efforts to areas which are more important, and some areas which are lesser important, we can have some basic tests, but we can spend lesser effort on those areas. So once we have decided what areas of the application we are supposed to test or have more focus on, then we can talk about what to automate from within that set. So if the set prior is not the best or hasn't been thought out properly, obviously the tests we would select for automation would not be the best choice. So that's why this step is important. About the criteria for selecting what tests to automate from within this set, we'll talk about some points in our next episode. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, add them in the comments below. If you find this video useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to join us in redefining software quality. See you next time. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, add them in the comments below. If you find this video useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to join us in redefining software quality. See you next time.